Welcome back to the baseline for episode 3. As you can see, we are without one of our co-hosts. Travis is was at the Packer game today. Brought him a little luck against the Bears, so he won't be with us. Just me and Chris today. I think we got this.
Yeah, we'll pick up his slack. No worries.
As always, we're presented by Bound. Bound is our presenting sponsor. Go there for all your stats, schedules. We got rankings, we got power index, we have stat leaderboards, scores, schedules for girls and boys basketball, along with written content throughout the year. We'll present a media poll every week on the boys and girls side in partnership with Zaleski Sports, as well as we'll have athletes of the week and team of the week in both boys and girls basketball that we get published out every Monday. So stay tuned for those on boundwisconsin.com. Coach, Chris, not Vinny, how was your week?
Hi. Our week is good. Finish off the week on Friday with a win over Grafton. We go 2-0 in a week. Like, you can't be mad about that, right? I mean, we're feeling pretty good about that, what we're doing defensively. So now we move on to this next week and get ready for West Bend East and a big one on Friday then as well. Every game is big, obviously. Like, I've been a part of the coaching world too long to not understand that regardless of who you play, every game is big. And if you don't bring it, varsity level basketball, you're going to lose.
Yeah, I 100% agree. We went down to Viroqua on Tuesday. My group didn't get to play, unfortunately. They only had a varsity and JV2 level. So we did pick one up tomorrow, which is great. Otherwise, my group would have waited or sap it from November 25th to December, I think 12th would have been our next game. So having the game tomorrow is great. As a coach, you like it, you get to implement it. But, I mean, the kids just get a little antsy. They want to stop learning stuff and start attacking someone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even when you have as coaches, right, when you have one game in a week, we're sitting there as coaches and be like, oh man, this is great. I have a few days where I can prepare for a game, and the players are like, oh my gosh, we have to have 4 practices this week before we get to play a game. So they love the 2-3 games a week thing, like, because it's like, well, we don't have to be on the practice floor type thing. So yeah, I can't imagine that your guys would love sitting for 3 weeks straight not playing in a basketball game. That's got to be extremely challenging, not only for them to stay focused, but also for you as a coach to keep them motivated and keep yourself motivated too, because at the end of the day, we're all competitors and we want to compete.
The group of sophomores that I got, they're a bunch of dogs too. They've had a lot of success coming up through the ranks. They had a lot of success for the most part, all staying down at the freshman level last year. So it's like they are just wanting to get after each other, and they're a very close group. So when they get after each other, or get after it, when they get after each other in practice, it just doesn't hit the same. So they're hungry, and tomorrow's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to getting back on the bench.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Best of luck too.
Thanks. You too. We'll talk about it in our preview for next week. But before we hop into it, stick around. We got a great interview with Slinger boys basketball head coach Alex Lavine coming up. Rival, friend of Coach Smith. It was great getting to pick his brain about different topics than what we got last week with Coach Lepisto. We talked a little bit about youth. We talked about the Conan brothers and just that talent and how, not really the struggles that come with it, but the greatness that can come with it. And it was a different interview. It was a great interview. And we ran over time. So it happens. Talking shop.
Yeah, it's always an exciting time to talk with Alex. Him and I spend a lot of time during the season and outside of the season chatting about some things even unrelated to basketball, which I think is important too. So anytime I have an opportunity to talk with Alex is great.
Yeah, let's hop into our week review from this past week. It was our first full one, so to speak. Obviously, week 1 you just had girls. Week 2 we had that Thanksgiving break. That then Saturday, Mother Nature decided to go and say, "Haha, no, thank you." So this is our really first week of getting boys and girls on the same on the same just full slate of schedule. Tuesday night it had to be 300 or 400 games between the two. So we're gonna hop into it. I'll get into some of the girls' review from this past week. Arrowhead, which is one of the top teams in D1. I think they're number one in our media poll. They got a 65-54 win over Muskego. State tournament matchup, rematch from last year. State tournament, one that Arrowhead came out on top of Muskego came out on top of, to get to the state championship. Arrowhead gets the win here. Natalie Cuso, 32 points. Really, really highly ranked Division I recruit. D1 number 4 Stevens Point, they got a win over D2 number 1 Rice Lake 74-60. Jada Siebert had 28. Addie Shepley had 34 for Rice Lake. She's been putting up some monster numbers for Rice Lake. I think she had 33 or something that first game. Just scoring the ball.
Yeah, just pouring it in.
Yeah. Argyle Peck, 42-39 over Albany Monticello. We talked a little bit about the Six Rivers last week. That is just a loaded small school girls conference, Both teams have been to state in the last couple of years. Argyle Peck gets the upper hand in the Six Rivers East with the win this past week. Oostburg, top team in D3. They take out Whitefish Bay 65-53. The Ketterhagen sisters, there's 3 of them, combined for 54 points. 54 of 65 come from the 3 sisters. I mean, that they're looking again like a monster in D3, looking to get back to the state championship game again.
Yeah, they are. There must be something in the water in Oostburg because both their girls and boys programs are doing some special things over there right now.
They are, yeah. We'll hear a little bit about the boys' side here coming up. Aaliyah Schwem, apologies for the mispronunciation, possibly. Sophomore out of Viroqua. She had 31, 11 steals, 4 rebounds, 3 assists in a 67-46 win over Dodgeville. Definite contender for the stat sheet stuffer. We're not going to get in trouble by going through that one too quick. Winneconne rallied, got a 61-60 win over Xavier, a really good Division III matchup. Trailed by 8.5 Winneconne did. Came back, got that 1-point win. According to Dan Barwick, friend of the program, Milwaukee South girls had not gotten a win on the basketball court since February 21 of 2020. That's now we're over 5 years of not having an on-court win, and they got one this past week. So congrats to the Milwaukee South girls basketball program. Awesome. Nora Jensen of Flambeau, 1,000 points scored on Friday. Congrats to her. Again, we'll reiterate this a couple times. We want to know those milestones hit. We want to know those records broken. We want to be able to celebrate those because I think that's something that should be celebrated statewide. From Flambeau to Hartford, over to La Crosse. We want to hear everything that happens within our state on the girls and boys side. Layla Walk, a junior out of Neilsville, had only 2 points, but 10 assists in a 64-24 win over Gilman. Rarity / uniqueness of, double-digit assists, low points. So just facilitating out there, not worrying too much about what she's doing as far as scoring the ball. And then lastly, Sid Lorkey, of sophomore out of Deerfield. She had a triple-double alert, 17 points, 10 steals, 10 rebounds in a win over Madison Country Day. Oh, and she had 8 assists. 2 assists away.
That's incredible. It's incredible. I mean, that's a full stat sheet right there.
Talk about affecting a game.
Mm-hmm. You could take away all 17 of her points, and she still was a very, very big impact on that game with 10 steals. Are you kidding me? 10 rebounds and 8 assists. I mean, that's a stat line in itself. And then you just throw in, oh yeah, I had 17 points too. Okay.
Yeah, she was around the ball. Yeah, that's incredible. Let's head over to the boys' side, Coach. What do you got? What happened this past week?
Lots of stuff happened in the boys game this week. Starting with is it Sevastopol? I stink with some. Yeah, I stink with some of these small schools just because I don't have that much experience with them. So usually that's your side of things where you take that stuff for me. But they beat Southern Door 77-50, which is what is it again? It's how do you say that again? It's
Sevastopol.
Sevastopol. Okay, their first win over Southern Door since February 5th of 2009.
That's a long time.
2009. That's a long time, right? Southern Door's 46 game conference winning streak also ends, which is awesome for them. I bet things were just going crazy a little bit there. So, hey, I'm hats off to them there. Jameson Zavachin of Oostburg, school's all-time leading scorer now. He's got 1,710 points. Those guys at Oostburg, man, they can really play. We played those guys over the summer, and they are tough, physical, athletic, can score in multiple ways. They're just really getting it done. His teammate Cade Dirks, he'll end up probably being second on that list by the end of the season. He's a really nice player too.
That's something. Your program is going to have their top two, likely the top two leading scorers in program history are going to be classmates
playing together. Yeah, that's wild. Good for them. I mean, it's kind of perfect timing, I guess, when you think about it, because you get to put all of that stuff together and make quite the team there too.
Yeah.
Caden Gustafson, right? From Waterford, right? Game-winning 3 against Tosa West. That was the graininess of the video. It wasn't the greatest of videos when I saw it, at least the copy of it that I saw, but that was quite the shot. And knocking off somebody like Tosa West, and that's quite the big deal. And they also, had a good win over Whitnall as well over the last week. So nice job there. Logan Nystrom of Assumption, career high 38 and goes 10 of 11. 10 of 11 from 3. Okay. In their win against Schwamagan. See that? I got it. Is that good?
Yeah, good job. 10 of 11?
10 of 11. That is not a typo.
My golly. That's when you're on one as a shooter, and I guess I've never even felt close to this, right? That's being on one.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to know when his first miss was, when that lone miss was. I would like to know how many he hit in a row.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that was pretty fun. The crowd had to be stirring. Moving forward, Troy LaValle of Cameron and Matt Klarner of Xavier both get their 300th career win. I don't think you truly understand what it takes to get to 300, because it takes a lot to get to 50, to 100, so on and so forth, right? And being a head coach myself, like, I understand how hard it is to win. 300, that is quite the accomplishment. Congratulations to you guys. Definitely deserving. Klarner's definitely got one of those 300 wins against me a couple years ago.
In Klarner's win too, their junior point guard Logan Ramchek, first career triple double. So
yep.
Another triple double.
Huge.
Alert.
And we'll mention that again. Huge game. Moving over to the Fox Valley a little bit more, right? So freshman Drew Bowers from Kaukauna, 17 points in his debut and 21 points the next game. That's pretty nice showing for a freshman coming into the Fox Valley. We talked about one game winner already. There were a ton of game winners this week.
There were.
If you want to read more about some of the game winners that happened across the state of Wisconsin, check out Colton's article on Bound Wisconsin, where he goes into detail with some of those wins. Evan Kern of New Berlin West buries a buzzer-beating 3. There's another one, right? In a win over Eisenhower on Friday, crossed over 1,000 points, that threshold on Saturday, which is a great accomplishment, right? Guys and girls scoring 1,000 points for a career all over the place right now. And, say what you want to say about just the game of basketball and how much more scoring there is right now, but I mean, the game itself is being played at a very high level in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch on a couple 1,000-point scores?
Sure. A couple others that we got note of this week. Quinn Gerke out of Toma. He's just a junior. He hit 1,000 in the first game of the year. Brady Benish out of Lake Mills, sharpshooter out of there. He hit 1,000. Cooper Mikowski of Shawamagan, he hit 1,000. And then Andrew Hoser of Neilsville also got to 1,000. Again, I think that this is something that I've heard it sometimes on Twitter. I've heard it in conversations where it's like, oh, they got 1,000. Well, there's 24 games now, and it's a lot easier. it doesn't matter. That these thresholds, these milestones, they need to continue to be celebrated
It's a
because
longevity thing.
it is. It speaks to effort. It speaks to being able to, maybe they averaged 0 points a game as a freshman in those last 3 years they got to 1,000. So it's something that we're going to continue to cover. It's something that we're going to continue to celebrate, not just on this podcast, but in those articles that we're doing on Bound, or that I'm doing in particular, where we're going to celebrate the 1,000-point scores, the school records being broken, everything like that.
Yeah, because everybody's 1,000-point journey has a specific story, and I think it's always worth mentioning. You don't know how they got there, what they went through to get there, so I think it's very, very much so notable.
Yeah.
We actually had Josh Manchester of Mount Horeb go over 2,000 points.
2,000.
2,000.
Game 3 into his senior year. He
that's wild.
Projectedly, if you were to look at it, stays healthy and he keeps on kind of the same pace that he had the last couple of years. Looking at a kid that's going to be top 10 career, possibly top 5. We had 3 kids, I think, want to say 3 kids last year that ended up in the top 10 career-wise of scoring points. Drew Doust of Southern Doors, Zay Mitchell from Oshkosh North, and Chris Davis at Sun Prairie West. So 3 kids that had gone up those ranks, and Manchester looks to be kind of the next one. This past weekend,
impressive.
Yeah, it is. And
I mean, there's about 70 kids that have surpassed that 2,000 point threshold, and only 2 have gone over 3,000. 3,000 is absurd, and you're talking about wild. Drew Doust and Anthony Pieper holding down those ranks at 1 and 2. Not sure.
3,000 points. That's wild.
Yeah, it's incredible.
We had a lot of good games this past Saturday at St. Augustine Prep. It was a pain in the butt trying to find the scores for him. I was up till midnight and I couldn't find, I think, one of the Nicolay Milwaukee Academy of Science. But I mean, just looking at the games, you had Martin Luther with a 2-point win over Goldomir. You had, Audubon with a 1-point win over Dominican. Homestead got a 11-point victory over Fondy. West Allis Central took out Milwaukee Juno. Brown Deer with a 11-point win over the host St. Augustine Prep, who got a big win over Milwaukee Academy of Science. Was it the night before or 2 nights before? And then obviously your nightcap, Nicolay and Milwaukee Academy of Science. Nicolay came away with a 1-point win in double overtime. So just a absolutely loaded tournament, but finding the information on it, Twitter was there was a ghost town when it came to those games. I was a little surprised. Would have loved to have gotten to it.
Unfortunate.
It is.
I mean, an event like that with the matchups that they had, it'd be really nice. I mean, maybe if they continue to have that moving forward. I mean, I've seen St. Augustine Prep's gym, and it's really nice. Like it's brand new. It's very nice. But yeah, like you said, it's just a shame. Like we can't get a hold of scores, until the next day, and even still not getting them posted. So it'd be nice if someone would actually jump in and be like, hey, listen, like, could we host this here? Help you host this here, and we can even broadcast these events for you.
They had their game against Brown Deer on their NFHS network, but I was a little surprised. I didn't see the others. Maybe I didn't do digging enough.
They were supposed to be, from what I know, just talking to some other coaches, they were supposed to be aired on their NFHS network all day long for people to be able to view, and it didn't happen for whatever reason. So it kind of sucks, but because that would have been a great day of basketball to sit and watch. One that if
I didn't have youth basketball in the morning and then helping officiate in the afternoon, would have definitely been on my let's get to. Before we get into our interview, we've got to get to the triple S, the stat sheet stuffers for week 3. On the girls' side, it's Ashlyn Abramacek.
Sounds right.
Ashlyn, if I butchered that, you make sure to just yell at me or have your coach yell at me. Junior out of Thorpe. She had 38 points, 10 steals, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, in a 77-23 win over Cornell. That's, again, we went back to it. You are affecting the game in so many different ways when you can put a box score and a stat line together like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving over to the boys' side, Logan Ramchak out of Xavier, right? Junior. Guy's a stud. He's really good. Super talented kid. I got to coach against him as a freshman, and he was a lot to handle at that point. So I can't even imagine what he's like on a basketball floor now as a junior. 22 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, 4 steals, and a block in a 104 to 59 win over Green Bay West. That's filling it up, not just Logan himself, but that Xavier team as a whole, man. They are super talented.
I don't know what was in the water this week up in the Green Bay area, but I don't know if you saw St. Mary Catholic and Menasha score 105 to 101.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's just a 105 to 101. It might take us 4 games to get to the 100 mark.
As a stat nerd, I would love to see the number of possessions in that basketball game, and just to kind of see what some of those other numbers looked like, because I bet they were pretty crazy.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think from here we're gonna transition to, again, we talked about it at the top. We got to interview Coach Lavine, Alex Lavine, Slinger boys basketball. Great interview. A lot of really good talking points that we got to touch on. Someone, again, that we hope to get back on sometime in the future. But go ahead, give that a listen, and then we'll be back with you in the outro, the weekly preview. All right, we welcome in a special guest in Slinger boys basketball coach, rival of Coach Smith here in the North Shore Conference. It's Alex Lavine. Coach, thanks for taking the time out of your Sunday. Thanks for joining us here on the Baseline.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for having me, guys.
So, Coach, you're going into your 8th year at Slinger, correct? Or this is your 8th year?
It's been a while. It's been a while, yeah, 8 years.
You're coming off a year last year where you guys went 24-3, solo winners of the North Shore, had a great playoff run, and then you just fell to that really, really hot, talented, and experienced Cedarburg team there. Obviously, you have an abundance of talent back in both Joey and Jack Conan, Colton Mance, and the list can go on and on throughout your roster. So tell us a little bit about last year, kind of maybe the disappointment of that sectional semifinal loss, and then how that may have served as motivation for you, your program, and all the kids coming into 25-26.
Yeah, a really successful season last year in a lot of ways. I think we maybe caught some people by surprise to some extent, and maybe even surprised ourselves. We really just focused on getting better, and at the the end of the regular season, we felt good about what we were able to kind of accomplish. We lost games to Homestead, and we lost a game to Freedom during the regular year, and we learned a lot from those experiences. We also won some really tight ones. We won a game against Whitefish Bay that was really tight. I think we were down 5 with about a minute and a half left. We beat Hartford on a buzzer beater.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Just wanted to let that one marinate for a minute. But so we had some big wins. We had some tough losses that we learned from, and then we had some close ones. And the margin of error is small, and if you're able to kind of find ways to win some of those close ones, you give yourself a chance. The playoff run came a little short, but at the same time, Cedarburg's a very veteran team, playing their best basketball at the right time. I think in hindsight, looking back at it, there were some things that we needed to learn, and usually there's steps to success. And I'm hoping that that's what it is. I think we're a much more mature team in terms of how we handle our business on a day in, day out deal. It serves as motivation. Now what you do with that is up to us, and excited about this season and where we can take it. Everybody wants to get ahead of things, and everybody wants to talk about talent, but there's plenty of talented teams who don't win. So we got to just do our job on a daily basis and grind it out, and also enjoy it. It's fun. It's a fun group of guys, really committed to basketball. And when you have guys who are super into it and love the game, it makes coming to practice and getting on the bus and playing in crowded gyms, it makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah, if you could just do us a quick favor, give us a little bit about your journey as a high school coach. How'd you get into it? Who got you into it? You know, was it an older coach? Was it a parent? Was it just something that you gravitated to as you were a player? Yeah, go back to the beginning of where the interest peaked and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, not a lot of colleges are recruiting. We'll call myself a 5'9" guard. So I knew there was a finish line there. But I was always like a cerebral player, relied on kind of knowing, the game and where to get people the ball as a point guard, set my teammates up, really like the X's and O's of it. So I always had an interest in that. Had great mentors, not just in basketball, but in football and baseball. And I always wanted to kind of be like those coaches, the ability to kind of impact and lead and influence kids was super intriguing to me. So when I graduated, I went to UW Stevens Point, was a student assistant and a manager there for a season under Coach Semling. Learned a lot, but then decided, I didn't necessarily want to take that college basketball route, and decided to just be a student at Whitewater and then go back and coach at Oconomowoc, where I graduated high school as a freshman and JV coach. And there I got really involved in the youth program. And I think that was kind of where my biggest growth happened because I was just like boots on the ground, like training, talking to youth parents and coaches and trying to implement things and just really working hard to establish a program. And that was a great experience for me. And then from there, so I was there for about 5 seasons, learned a lot. And then there was an opportunity to be a FIAD teacher and basketball coach at Slinger. I was an assistant for Coach Sheevy for 1 year, which is a great deal. He's a Hall of Famer, and it was great to learn from a veteran coach like that. And then the following year, I became the head coach. You mentioned this is my 8th year. Our first year, we didn't win many games. Our second year, we made a nice jump. We had a nice group. But then years 3, 4, and 5 were tough. We didn't win many games. Um, it was a bit of a grind. I think it was, there were good moments, but by and large, there's just a lot of growth. I think for me, from year 3, 4, 5, and then into year 6, um, I just feel like I became a better coach through some of the challenges that we had. And the last 3 years have been good in terms of, we've made progress, we've gotten better. Our culture is really solid right now. I think people want their progress, or their not necessarily their progress, but their coaching career to be linear and just keep growing and getting better. And like every year, you're in a better spot. And I think in like year 4 or 5, I hit rock bottom to some extent, and that was humbling, but also part of my story and part of my journey. And I think I'm better because of it. And now things have changed a lot since those years, and we have a really good team and a good program, and I'm enjoying every second of it.
Yeah. You talked, and I noticed you spent a lot of time working with youth, whether it was at Oconomowoc, your first year at Slinger. Um, from my perspective and from my point of view, I think that is the most gratifying part of being part of the high school basketball program in Richland Center, at least, is, Saturday mornings we get to do our youth program. You get to go to youth basketball tournaments. You get to kind of get your hands on that. Um, now I struggle with this pretty consistently, and not just conversations that I've had, with our group, but I'd love to hear your perspective on it. Is um, the age to begin traveling and full game competition and being able to weigh that with your skill development, weigh that with keeping numbers out. I'd imagine that at Hartford and at Slinger, it's a little bit different, where maybe in your third grade you have 60 kids out compared to Richland Center, where we're at, 15. But just talk a little bit about maybe a little bit the philosophy that you have when it comes to competition at the younger ages, how to keep that engagement, how to keep the love of the game, because I think that that's something that's really important, especially at that age. How do you cultivate that?
Yeah, the youth programs are really the lifeblood of what you do. You have to have things in place, and I feel like a lot of our efforts, go toward youth programming. Not necessarily as much during the season, but in those off season months. With spring camps and summer camps and fall camps, it's pretty never ending. Right now, um, the group that is seniors for us was in third grade when I was hired. So the cool part is like knowing those kids all the way through, and those relationships are strong, which is really awesome. I think skill development is the most important part. Can you dribble the ball with both hands, and do you learn how to shoot correctly? You could really just spend a lot of time on layups. Right-handed, left-handed layups, jump stops, those types of things are really important. Um, I know there's some leagues now. Our third grade plays in one this week, or this year rather. It's called the Fast Break League. They do it out of Madison, and they're doing it a little bit out of Lake Country in southeastern Wisconsin now as well. But they lower the hoops. It's transition based, so in third and fourth grade, a lot of kids struggle to get an advantage. In this, they have an advantage, and the defense has to kind of scramble. They lower the hoops a little bit as well. I think in a lot of situations, we're victim to the leagues that we sign up for or have to sign up for, the options that are kind of out there. If you could find a way to just work on skills in third and fourth grade almost exclusively, I think that would be great. And then kind of maybe work toward games as you get older. But I think we're playing, too many games and we're not practicing enough. One of the limitations we have is just the amount of time that we can get in the gym during the season. We're only able to do twice a week, and it might be an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 30 minutes a time. It's just not enough. Probably the length is fine, but the number of times isn't enough. Yeah, so I think we're falling short there, but I don't necessarily have a solution. The skill development though is really important. Like if you scout and prepare for teams at the high school level, if teams have guys who can shoot the basketball and you can't help off of them, and you got five guys who can score, those are the teams that are really hard to guard. Um, and you want to try to develop guys who can create their own shot and make shots. It's pretty simple, right? But there's a lot of kids who go their whole youth experience playing a million games and shooting the ball the wrong way, and they might be having fun from time to time, but they're not gonna have the high school success um, that they're maybe hoping for.
Yeah, that's the tough part about it, right? When you're thinking about the youth, especially the younger kids, is you're talking about, oh, we can only get in the gym twice a week for practice, and then you go on a Saturday or Sunday and they play 3 games in 4 hours. And sometimes it feels a little bit counterintuitive, right? And like there are times like right now, like I'm coaching my fourth grade daughter, and there are times where things are awesome, right? But sometimes it's like, man, should we really be here right now? Because they don't even understand this concept of the game, right? And sometimes I think like in our world today, with all the games that kids play, and Alex, you can speak on this, is they're playing so many games and rarely ever actually getting a chance to understand the game before playing a game.
Yeah, I mean, I think playing is good, right? Like, but
Yep.
it's probably better in like a 3-on-3 situation if it was perfect, right? Because there's just more touches. But if like kids could just play without feedback, almost like just letting them explore and figure things out. A kid plays a basketball game right now, and you got maybe two or three coaches and like five parents in the stands trying to tell a kid what to do every possession. Like we need to educate kids and allow kids then to learn without constantly being told. Like what I've learned, more so in the last couple of years when we've been good, like the game just goes up and down, and you have to prepare your players to play in that environment, and you can't control much. That's what high level basketball really is. So running those like kind of magical plays in youth basketball and getting a bucket out of it, you're not really teaching kids anything. um, so yeah, I think playing games is important, or like having those free structured small sided games is important, but we don't necessarily allow that to happen organically. It's almost like Chris was saying. It's just kind of not, right, I guess.
Yeah, it's that whole too many voices thing. It we're gonna get into this a little later, Coach
Like
Smith
shoot,
and I.
pass,
Yeah, we
dribble,
there
run.
was in a youth tournament that I was officiating in Richland Center this past yesterday. It's a fourth grade girls team. They have 3 coaches trying to stand up and talk, and 1 to 2 parents in the stands that are right on the court that are talking. And they went to call a timeout, and all 3 coaches step up to call the timeout. And I go, "All right, who's the head coach? Okay, you two now. Will you please sit?" I with situations like that, it's fourth grade girls basketball. They're running pass, hope to get the shot up, don't get a jump ball, and they got 3 coaches that, and I think that this is something that maybe even I struggle with as a coach sometimes, is when you're talking loudly, switching between the encouraging side of how you sound and the constructive criticism side, that can all kind of sound as one. So if I'm not stressed as an official, but if I'm feeling that energy as an official, what are the fourth grade girls on the court feeling?
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it, man.
Yeah.
uh, it's like just chaos sometimes. It's just straight chaos. Chris, what grade's your daughter in? That you're coaching?
She's a fourth grader.
Okay, yeah,
It
so
was
you're kind of
it was
in the meat of it.
it
I
was
was
Chris and
gonna
his
say,
it was Chris and his assistants that I actually had to tell to sit down.
No, no, no. See, I'm the assistant. I'm the one who sits. I sit on the bench. Alex knows how
uh,
tough that is for me to do. So
yeah, I think youth coaching too is so important. Like, if you have a group with experienced coaches or kind of guys or gals who have kind of gone through it and have experience, maybe seen it from our perspective, you see like the start to finish type deal, and you just have like the right mindset in coaching them, it makes such a big difference. It like good youth coaching in terms of fundamentals and in terms of mindset and helping kids to grow and learn, it's transformational. And I honestly think it's the difference in success or failure for some of these kids. Some of our best teams too, like as kids get older, it goes from that skill development piece to like how are you developing their mind to be able to kind of handle hard situations and hard challenges and hard coaching, because eventually that's what it takes in order to be successful. You need to be able to take that criticism and channel it in a positive way and grow and get better. Um, and I don't know that we're able to do that a lot in a youth setting unless we have a really good coach or somebody who has some experience in that.
Yeah, with something that I've heard and I've said quite a bit is, and this doesn't just involve youth, right? This is more with your high school team, is the skill level in basketball has gone up dramatically over the last 10 years. Um, but the IQ, has that plateaued? Is that growing with the same, you know, um, trajectory that the skill level is? And I think a lot of that is in my experience with the kids that I've coached, they don't watch a lot of full game basketball. They play a lot, they watch a lot of YouTube clips, but they don't sit down and just watch basketball.
Yeah, exactly. They're watching clips. I think film study probably is more important than ever before. Kids sometimes don't know what they look like until they see themselves, and it can be eye opening. But it's got to be like in a non-attacking way. It's just like, hey, this is kind of what it looks like right now. What do you think? And then kind of have conversation and coach from it. But yeah, the skill, like the best players right now, or to what it takes in order to be good right now is more than it's ever taken. If I was playing high school basketball in today's environment, with the amount of work and such that I put in 15 years ago, I don't know what kind of player I'd been. Um, you gotta be pretty skillful. But yeah, the IQ is something that I think uh, maybe we've seen a dip in a little bit. Having to kind of explain some things that we maybe sometimes feel like we shouldn't have to. But you know, there's always something, right?
yeah, I'd like to kind of switch gears there a little bit. I mean, we want to talk about IQ, and to be honest with you, I think you have a couple guys on your team right now with very high basketball IQ. Jack Conan for one. Jack is one of the most savvy basketball players that I've coached against in my career. Um, as a, and even as a player, you know, what's it like to coach the Conan brothers and, the complementary players that you have around them right now? You talked a little bit about just last year in your journey, and, you won the North Shore with a very youthful team, right? And now you have all this experience and the tough loss, obviously, in the playoffs. Um, but how you spun that to be a positive for this year, and seeing your games to start the season, you guys look to be very driven and motivated. Can you speak about how maybe like last year's ending, and then just how the guys took it and their understanding of the game, and what they what things they did to kind of get on the pathway for this year?
Yeah, I know. First, Jack, he is, if like when I watch film or clips with him, it's really enjoyable. It's like sitting down with an assistant coach or, a peer. He's really mature. He sees and understands the game really well. Um, if I do this for 30 more years, the opportunity to coach a basketball intelligent kid like him again probably won't come. He's next level smart in that regard. I think if you watch him play, he gets better every year, but his passing is one of the things that is really impressive about him. Um, and he's scored 4 points in victories, and he's scored 40 points in victories, and he's the same kid. So team first all the way through. Him and Jack are very different, not only in terms of their skill sets, but also their kind of mindset. Jack is really like steady, but also like sometimes you got to get him going a little bit. Like he's so like just mellow, and Joe is 100 miles an hour, like super competitive, like um, get after you type dude. You got to sometimes like choke him back a little bit. But they're both really skilled, really competitive kids, and the work that they put in really sets the foundation for everyone else, right? Like the amount of shooting they do, the amount of skill work, and they don't miss anything that we put on. They're always there, so I think that that's really important too. There's some players train and go other places, and they leave their high school teammates kind of as an afterthought. And Jack and Joey don't do that. They prioritize, this team. The other guy who maybe goes under the radar a little bit is Colton Mance. He is without a doubt our leader.
I love Colton,
He's
by the way.
yeah,
He's,
Thanks.
I love his game and stuff. Not this Colton. Colton Mance, no, he's one
yeah,
of my
Colton.
favorites on your team. You know that already, but
Yeah, he's just like he's like a dog, man. He
mhm.
every single day. In 3 years, I've probably corrected his effort twice, and like I don't know how many days that is, but that's a lot of days, right? And his intensity, the way he sets a tone, the way he communicates. He's like one of those high school kids that's okay with telling other high school kids like you're wrong, don't do that again.
That's very
Where
rare.
where everybody's like, I don't want to, tell my friend he did something wrong, or, he's confident, comfortable in himself to do that. Bryson Fogel, Brett Palm, they've continued to emerge as guys who are like that. We just have guys who show up every day to everything without me having to say anything. And they've kind of taken ownership of things. And, obviously we still push and challenge them. But we're challenging them to do next level stuff, and we're not kind of taking steps back, we're taking steps forward. Some groups, they lose games and it's okay. We'll be back next year. And our guys never took that for granted, and we got a long way to go. But day in and day out, our guys right now are maximizing who they can be, just with their effort and their focus. And I really appreciate that. This is kind of one of those seasons where you hope it lasts for a long time, because you just enjoy the people that you go to work with every day. They really push and challenge each other, which makes it fun. But it's a team centered deal. Like there's no ego. So it's great.
You talked about Colton's ability. That's really weird saying my own name. You talked about Colton's ability to hold his teammates accountable, being willing to do that vocally, which I think is probably one of the more invaluable things that you can have as a high school basketball coach, as a is a captain or a team or a player in that essence that is willing to do that, because it's very uncomfortable for young men and young women to do that to their peers. So that's
And I think, like if you watch a game that we play and he works so hard, and then you watch a practice and he works so hard. So when somebody who works really hard every day tells you to do something, you listen, right? Like his actions and intensity on a daily basis kind of give him the ability to do that. Um, but yeah, I mean, you guys know, like getting kids to speak up is hard enough, let alone tell somebody what to do. But the other thing I appreciate about our guys too is like if something's going on or they need something to talk, they need to talk to me. Like they do that too. I think that's really important. They can't be like scared to go to coach. We gotta like all work together and figure things out. Um, even if you're really good, you're still gonna have challenges.
I think I think on a daily basis, you guys are in a little bit of a unique situation last year and, this year, especially in moving forward with some of the recruiting things that are going on just with Jack and Joe and how highly recruited they are. I'm sure you've had plenty of coaches in your gym. Um, are there any distractions with that? Like, how do the kids deal with that? Is that something that you guys talked about prior to? Or do you just go about your business and be like, yeah, hey, there are some guys in the gym?
Yeah, I mean, I think it like for the guys who aren't getting recruited, I think there's like an energy in the gym because you've got, guys that you watch coaching college basketball teams in your open gym in the fall, which is pretty cool. Um, so that's kind of a neat moment. Jack and Joe are very like low key, low maintenance players. Um, them and their family, they kind of run, a quiet, recruiting situation here where, yeah, they are talking to coaches. Coaches come watch our open gyms. They've done some visits, but they're not like promoting it on social media. It's not something that they talk about a lot, really at all. It's kind of a tight knit circle and a tight, knit decision, I guess, when it comes to that. But so it doesn't really become a distraction. I think it's just really been cool to come to an open gym and see Shaka Smart or Greg Gard or TJ Otzelberger. The first couple days of school, we got Fred Hoiberg and TJ coming in to visit the kids. Like for me, as a basketball junkie, it's kind of incredible to see a guy that used to be the head coach of the Chicago Bulls coming into Slinger High School. Uh, so that's kind of cool. And then you see him at the fall clinic, and he's like, "Hey, Alex, how you doing?" So those are kind of cool things. But Jack and Joe, um, they have a really good foundation at home. They're about the right things, and I've appreciated how they've gone about their process. It's never been a distraction. Even like a visit, they're not going to a visit if we have a practice, and they've communicated that, and I really appreciate that. One of the things their dad told me at one point was, "Hey, I want you to coach my kids. I'm not going to tell you how to coach my kids, but I want you to coach my kids as if they're your own. I want you to feel comfortable with them." And like we're hard on them sometimes, and I know that that's okay because that's A, the way they want to be coached, and B, they have high expectations for themselves. And the third part of that is their parents are hard on them too. They have high expectations and standards for them, not just as players but as people. So I think I'm blessed because they're good players, but I think I'm way more blessed because they're good people.
That's a great answer. I think what you said the last part, right? Like, it's awesome to have great players, right? But when you get to coach great people that go so far above and beyond the basketball floor, um, it makes it that much more worth it. And that that you're going to be like, these people I'm going to stay in touch with and I'm going to be friends with them once they're adults and they're beyond basketball, right? So no, that's a good answer. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and they're super coachable kids. Like, sometimes I think coaches like are maybe afraid to like kind of coach their best player. But when you can really coach your best player and they're accepting of it and they listen, like it's transformational to your team. And I give those guys credit because they are very coachable kids, and it's I was asked the other day, about our like success recently, and yeah, it's talent, right? It's hard work, yeah, but it's also like culture and chemistry. Like those things are so important. When you have good kids who make good choices and live by high standards, that's good for a couple wins here and there too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And hell, even if it isn't, uh, I'll take a loss and roll with kids who are like them.
Coach, you obviously playing in the North Shore, you're going to get Homestead twice, Hartford twice, Cedarburg, Nicolay, who am I missing? Whitefish
Whitefish
Bay,
Bays, yeah.
Whitefish Bay. You're going to get those teams twice a year. And looking at your schedule, you said to heck with that. We're still going to go out and we're gonna get the best that we can find in non-con. I mean, you got Wisco this week, Tuesday, right? Wisco
Yeah.
on Tuesday. You got Mount Horeb, Arrowhead, Oshkosh North, Freedom, Tosa West. So you definitely are doing exactly what I think teams that are looking to make a deep run in the playoffs. This is the kind of schedule that I would look at and be like, okay, they're preparing themselves for late February, March for that. Can you go what goes into, you know, scheduling a non-con slate like you have?
Well, it's been really cool because there's a lot of events or people who are running events that have reached out to us and asked us to be a part of it. And I've been doing this now 8 years, and when you get opportunities like we've been afforded to play in certain events, you say yes, and you just make it work, and that's really cool and fun. It's really great experiences for our kids. Whether it's playing at the WBY on a Saturday night at 6:30, or playing at Fiserv Forum. Those are really cool experiences. But ultimately, we need to be battle tested, and we need to put ourselves in a variety of situations. And if we win, great. And if we lose, we got to learn and become better from those situations. We're going to have to play well in every game in order to win, whether it's a North Shore game or it's a non-con game. And I think our kids are embracing that grind and really looking forward to it. I'm sure it'll bring some challenges as we go. Like when you're playing, I don't know, three top 10 teams or something like that in a 2 week stretch. Whether it's Division 1, 2, or 3, whatever it might be, like it's going to be challenging. It's going to wear on us a little bit, but it's going to test us and have us hopefully playing our best basketball as we hit the home stretch. And that's really what it's about. Um, and I'm excited to see how I mentioned maturation and being more mature this year. Not that we were immature, but I think there's steps towards success. How we handle it. You got to be consistent and there's a team down the road from us, Hartford, who is really good and flying under the radar. And I just want to let Chris know that they're not flying under the radar. We know those guys are good, and they're making a million threes and giving us headaches and stuff like that. So it's crazy, how talented the North Shore is. Like it is a crazy league. And then some of these opportunities and things that we needed to jump on those opportunities. Um, but it's exciting to play the best and kind of see how you stack up. And, like even as a coach, you like the X's and O's of it. Like, how are we going to kind of go up against, Wisco Tuesday night? Ryan Walls has won a million games, and his teams are super talented and they run a lot of really good things. And honestly, we'll probably steal a couple of them, but it's just fun to go up against the very best. Everybody wants to do that and to be in a position where, we can challenge ourselves and see what we're made of. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's a good point that you talked about being in the position. You guys, with how you played last year, you kind of have earned that opportunity to get the schedule that you got, get those non-cons that you got this year.
Yeah, it's cool. Really looking forward to it.
I think there's something to be said too, about like let's use like Alex and my relationship for example. I think, us Slinger and Hartford, us being a big rival, right? When we're on the floor, in the basketball floor, I mean, Alex and I are two of the most competitive people there are, right? And we're trying to get our points across, and we're trying to beat crap out of the team that, on the other side. And I think that something that's really cool is that Alex and I always make sure that we stay in touch throughout the season. Something like that I don't think ever people really know much about. Like, oh man, like you guys were rivals with Slinger. You must hate that guy over there. No, actually, I would say in the coaching world, Alex is probably one of the guys that I'm the closest with, and he's somebody that you know he checks up on me, I check up on him. We make sure we're doing okay. But at the end of the day, when we do play against each other, we want to beat each other. And I think that just I think strengthens our relationship as coaches even more. Not just as coaches, but as friends too. And it's fun. And I've met some of my best friends in the coaching world, and Alex being one of those.
Yeah, Alex. With that being said, if you could just give out your game plan for Friday night, maybe what you plan to do offensively, defensively, Coach. Coach Smith. You
We're
can
hoping
take
to
your
score
headphones
one more
off.
point than those guys. One more point. I think the longer you do this, like the more you realize everybody works hard.
Yep.
At least the people who hang around. And it can be a really lonely job
Yes.
in that not everybody knows what it feels like to go through being a head coach and the ups and the downs of it. And I think, Chris and I have had similar experiences in that we've had good teams and we've had teams that struggle, and we've kind of been able to kind of talk through some of those things, maybe as they come up. But just because your team struggles in any given year doesn't mean you're not working extremely hard. And even when you're winning, you're still working hard. Like the grind is the grind. And there's, I think, high school coaches, you know, what they do is overlooked and underappreciated. And I'm not looking to get a pat on the back here, but I do think that good, hardworking, committed people. Um, it's what it takes. And you're going to have to be tough and resilient, and you're going to be drastically underpaid, but you got to do it for a love and of the game, but also like the relationships you have with other coaches is part of the fun of it. I've really appreciated, some of the other, coaches as well, and getting to know them and kind of see some of the things that they do and steal some of the things they do, and um, it's kind of a copycat deal out there.
Yeah, you don't have to say it, but I will say it. I'll give you that pat on the back, Coach Smith. I'll do the same thing. I think a big reason why I wanted to start this podcast and do it with Coach Smith is um, giving a voice to a lot of you coaches that you said, during the season, it can get a little lonely. You can feel a little voiceless at times. So there's between boys and girls at all three levels, there's over probably close to 1,500 coaches that, hey, love to hear your story, love to talk shop. I'm a basketball junkie. Chris is a basketball junkie. So, yeah, you're appreciated.
Yeah, you wear those losses. You wear those losses hard. It's hard to get up the next day and get to school by 7 a.m. and have a smile on your face because you probably were up till 2 a.m. wondering why you did something wrong on a film or whatever. And I think that's what like win or lose, like coaches care a lot. And I think even when you're not winning, like there's no one who's more positive than the coach. Like the coach still thinks that he can get the kids to do a certain thing and get them to improve and help them to find success. Um, so good coaches are important.
Chris, you got anything to add in here before we hop into some rapid fire with Coach Lavine?
No, I think we ended with a really great mini segment there. I'm truly
He just
passionate
likes
about.
getting complimented. So
Yeah, that's what it is. No, I really like the conversation that we had here about just coaches being in it for the right reason and everybody trying to help each other out. It's not the slugfest that people really think it is when it comes to the coaching profession. We're really here to support each other, and I'm glad that I have Alex in my corner when I need him too.
Yeah, I agree. Coach, we're going to hop into some rapid fire questions. Feel
okay.
free to we're going to go right through these. I think I got 6 or 7 of them here. Shouldn't take too long. I'm Let's just get started with
Us
your
us
favorite.
teachers just started to giggle there because we would be like, "Oh man, if we said that in a class right now,
Yeah, yeah.
kids would be going crazy."
And then you would be like so disappointed in yourself for saying it.
Exactly, exactly.
All right, Coach. What's your favorite gym to coach in outside of Slingers?
Ooh. There's always a great environment at Hartford because Slinger Hartford, regardless of record. I like coaching in a gym where there's energy, you know. Um, so we'll go Hartford.
What's the most impactful data, or what's the most impactful point of data that you track in game? Do you think
In game, I would just say anything related to shot selection and turnovers,
biggest non-negotiable?
as it relates to play on the court.
It can relate to anything, whether it comes to play on the court, practice manners, anything like that.
Um, Work hard. Uh, like people that are lazy really bother me. So work hard and tell the truth. Work hard and tell the truth.
Favorite thing to draw up in a game?
Hmm. Um, I mean, if you can draw up a game winner, that's nice. But
Oh, Coach.
uh, nothing incredible. Yeah, I'd go with a game winner if you can draw up a game winner.
What's the favorite song that you get to hear from, whether it's your pep band or indie pep band? What's the one that either takes you back to when you played, or you hear it and you're like, "Yeah, that's got the gym going."
I don't know what our school fight song is or school song is, the exact name of it. So forgive me for that. But like when the band is there and that song plays, kind of as your lineup for the national anthem, there's just an energy. I love when the band's there. I don't know that the high school kids like it as much. They'd rather listen to their crap music, but the band always gets me a little more fired up than normal.
Before I hop into the next rapid fire question, we're gonna pause that quick because Coach Lepisto had mentioned something too. He's like, "Win the band." How often is the band at your guys' games?
I think it's like 3 or 4 times a year.
Wow.
They stay till halftime. I think that's kind of the only thing I wish they'd stay, the whole time. But when the band plays, they play before the game. They do the national anthem and they do like kind of a halftime presentation or whatever, or show, and then they're off and
And it's
going home
right in
for
the
the night.
ears of the visiting bench.
So in our gym, there's not a lot of space for them to be. So we try to put them in a spot that is deafening to the opponent.
Sorry to go off on the tangent. That surprises me a bit. For ours, I think they're there for all of our home conference games, for
Oh
sure,
wow.
and then
Wow.
they're there for a couple or a handful of our non-cons too. Um, the biggest thing that's really funny with our pep band is they leave at halftime as well. And there
Yeah.
was one time that I think that we got fouled on the very first possession coming out of half, so we're shooting free throws, and our whole band is just walking right behind the hoop because that's how they get out. Is so our whole band is just filing down, half of them are on the court as we're trying to shoot the first free throws of the second half. Looked pretty funny on huddle. Looked pretty funny on just being there.
It always stinks when the band leaves and all of a sudden the crowd looks significantly smaller.
Mhm.
Just the whole section missing from it.
Yeah, yeah.
When you get out to a game, what's the favorite concession item?
I go popcorn.
I don't know if we're going to get a different answer than that. I'd be very surprised if we do this
I
at
mean,
all.
if I'm not eating though, I'm a huge coffee person. So, and it can be 7 o'clock and I'll do a coffee. So coffee or popcorn.
Just don't be a psycho and drink a decaf ever, please. That's
It
nuts.
just
Like, what
seems
are we
like a waste,
what are we
total
doing if
waste.
you're drinking
Yeah,
coffee and it's decaf?
Chris,
yeah.
you're gonna have to bring that up to Trav next week.
Get out of here.
All right, last one in the rapid fire questions. Start, bench, and sit. Skill, effort, and IQ.
Ooh. I think we'll start effort, It was start, bench,
Bench.
cut.
Yeah,
We'll bench skill and we'll cut IQ.
there we
Uh,
go.
let's work hard and be skilled. I think we can make it work.
That's where I would have went to.
Chris, before we dive into our last question, anything else you want to ask Coach?
No, man. Thanks a lot for coming. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Our last question. This is kind of probably going to be our last question for any coach that we interview, and you had kind of pointed on it a little earlier with regards to culture and chemistry, and that being extremely important to not only success but to foster a good program. And I think a lot of when you talk about that culture word, a lot of that boils down to relationships, whether it's relationships with you, your staff, the players, everybody encompassing in the community, down to your youth, to parents even. So the question that I have for you is, what is one thing that you or your program or your kids or just anything within the Slinger Boys basketball unique that it builds better relationships?
Like something we do that's unique.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's a tough one. I would say just as a community and a school, Slinger is incredible in terms of its support, community support, teacher support, support for our teams and our kids. So kind of like inherently we have that in place. You know, I've been at other schools, and not all of them obviously, but I think by and large, our support is just like better than a lot of other places. It's a little bit of a small town, but also not too small, and there's a ton of support from community members, which is really really neat. Um, we talk about family a lot, and one of the things within our basketball program, and one of the things I like to talk about specifically is you need to encourage your family. You need to have hard conversations with your family. You need to be honest with your family. You're going to be upset and frustrated sometimes with your family, but they're your family. And I think um, for me, establishing relationships where I can joke around with the guys and laugh is really important. But also, they know that I'm going to be really direct with them sometimes. And that also comes from a place of love. We talk about how accountability is a sign of love and care. So if I'm letting you do something that is maybe, let's say, substandard, and I don't address it, that's like me just not caring for you, not loving you, not, I wouldn't do that to a family member. So some of those things are kind of are the backbone, I guess, of our program. And, our groups recently have been really, you know, um, open to that culture to some extent. And our kids hang out together and they're really tight and close knit. And I really think that makes a big difference. It's not always like that. It won't always be that way. Even if you do everything culturally right, the kids really have a huge influence in that as well, not just the coach and the program.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for taking the time. We went obviously over that half-hour limit that we were hoping to hit, but great getting to talk to you. Hopefully, I can meet you sometime out here. I think I'll probably be at the Midwest Players Classic and at Deer District, so might get to see you back-to-back weekends.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, we'll be out in we play at the 608 too. I don't know if that's kind of closer to you at all, but I've heard really good things about that event as well. I've never participated in it at all, but yeah,
yeah,
some really cool events in our state. We're fortunate that way.
yeah, we are. Head to Hartford, guys, this week on Friday night, and you get to see Chris and Alex square off at midcourt after the game. Just kidding, but it will be a really good North Shore battle Friday night. Thanks again, Coach, and have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, absolutely. The two tallest coaches in the North Shore squaring off.
Yep, you bet. Thanks for coming on, Alex.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
We're back. Coach Lavine, great interview. Thank you again. Coach Smith, you're very familiar with him. You guys get to play each other this upcoming Friday.
Mhm.
Tell me what you thought of the interview.
It was great. He's another guy that's very open to talking about the things he does and the way he does things. He his demeanor is fantastic. I think, and it's no secret to why his kids play so hard for him and they do the things that he asks them to do, because he does truly put relationships first in his program, and he talked a lot about family, and there's something to be said about that word in an athletic scenario, right, in an environment, because I talk about this all the time, even in like my parent meetings at the beginning of the year. It's like, hey, listen, I'm going to see your sons more than I see my own children for the next 4.5 months. So I want this to be like family as much as possible, right? Like we need to be tight knit. We need things to go smoothly. So when he talked about culture and he talked about that family and how the struggles that you come along with that, right? With being around your family all the time and how things can be positive and negative with all that, right? I mean, and being open and honest about that, I think is really, really important. So that was one of my favorite parts of that interview. And man, Slinger basketball couldn't be in a better spot right now, but I hope like hell we can take it to him next Friday.
Yeah. One thing, I mean, I love talking youth hoops. I love talking hoops in general, but I love being able to pick brains of obviously a lot of you guys and gals that are in bigger districts have maybe a different way of looking at things, and how I can take what you guys do and really apply it to our youth programs to further enhance not just our program down there, but obviously that trickles up into, what happens at the high school level. And that kind of brings me into a topic that I wanted to talk about, was just a little bit of youth tournament etiquette, so to speak. We touched on it a little bit with Coach Lavine. Tournament that I'm officiating this past weekend is fourth grade girls, and 3 coaches are standing up, and they're not yelling at them, right? But the voices are loud. It sounds like yelling. They're yelling, go find them, go, like, it's screaming at them to go do something. And then you have a couple parents in the stands that add on to it. And I'm feeling that as an official, as a 34-year-old official. These are fourth grade girls that you look at his bench. You look at the bench, and I think they only had 7 girls on it. It's a smaller school, but you have to imagine that stuff like that will affect your numbers as they go from 4th to 5th to 6th, especially if that same kind of energy stays.
Yeah, I think when it comes to choosing youth coaches, you have to do your due diligence. As your youth board, your high school staff, really taking a look at what's best for the kids. And it's really hard in today's world to find people who even want to coach, period, right? So sometimes your hands are a little bit tied, depending upon the groups and the levels, right? Because who ends up coaching most of those teams?
Yeah.
Parents, right?
Yep.
There's usually a parent, a mom or dad, who is going to volunteer their time
Yep.
to do that, right? And so there are things we could talk about those things, for the next few hours. But I just think that there is a process in which you need to cover, to make sure that you are not only choosing the correct coaches for each level, but also at the same time making sure they understand what your expectations are within your program. Because, as Coach Lavine said, the youth program runs everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have a good youth program, you're never going to be good uh, in the high school, right? In the high school ranks, especially if you get to the points where like we're at, right? Like we're in rural Wisconsin, right? We're 45 minutes to an hour away from Milwaukee, but like, how many schools are between us and Milwaukee? A lot. And
Rural
I could
Wisconsin.
speak. Well, I mean, my school district covers 229 square miles.
I know.
And it gets to be pretty country out towards the northern parts of Washington County and
Yeah.
Dodge County, and it's tough sometimes, right? To get people, and I know that, like, for my experience, you got people that are living in Richfield or Aaron, and then that are going to be on the same team as people who are, out towards Rubicon and Neosho, and that's 35 minutes, if not 40 minutes away from each other. And they're on the same team and they're going to the same high school in like 6-7 years, right? So like
Yeah.
it's a big deal to make sure that you do pick the right people and that they understand like what the vision is, because I think a lot of that gets skewed.
Yeah, I think and even with that, even if they're not necessarily the right people, but you can educate them on
Yep.
Expectations. Obviously, fourth grade is going to be coached completely different than your eighth grade group,
Yeah.
even than your fifth and sixth grade group. But for
Yep.
a lot of programs, that fourth grade level is their first competitive level, their first traveling level. So that's where and maybe this is a naive perspective, but I still want to make it just as fun as possible at that level to not only foster the love of the game, but to foster the healthiness of your program as far as like numbers go.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you have to get the boys and girls excited about the game of basketball. And you might not even start with skill building. You start with the kids getting to know each other. You start with, why basketball is fun. Why did you even choose to play basketball, right? And
Yep.
have those conversations, at the beginning of practice when you're huddled up. And then making some of the skill building, once you get to that, making them kind of mesh with some games that maybe the kids play at recess every once in a while and be like, hey, like this is fun. Let's have
Yeah.
some fun with this. And then you kind of bring them into at some point during practice and you be like, all right, hey, listen, like we did all this fun stuff, but you know why this stuff is fun? And like, what would be even more fun is if you got better at these certain things. And like, here's what we're going to do to get better. So we're going to take the fun stuff and we're going to build you guys up and make it even more fun. And then you get to the games and it's like, all right, now you take everything that you learned in practice and the things that you had fun with in practice. And now we're going to try to put it into a game situation. And it is tough when like you said, you have three voices on the bench screaming and yelling. And then we all know that we have people in the stands that are always saying something.
Yep.
And as a third, fourth, fifth grader, even all the way to 12th graders at the high school, it's really, really hard. Preaching that we're all saying the same thing is going to make it a lot easier on the kid, right? What they're being told in practice and in games, you hope that parents are supporting it at home and saying the same exact things. Like, yeah, like what your coach is saying is what needs to be, what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're putting the kid in a really weird situation and they don't know who to listen to because they're children.
Yep. Exactly. One thing that I actually didn't see it too much this past yesterday, but I've seen it so much in the past, and it trickles up to the varsity and JV. Not so much the varsity level, but your freshman and JV levels. Checking in. This drives me crazy. You go to youth tournaments, and they'll just throw them in off the bench, and then a lot of your youth officials, they're there. They're not always educated as WIA officials. Some of them are high schoolers. I like to get as many high schoolers that want to do it involved as possible. Younger guys, grow the profession,
Easy money.
right? And you just have officials that then don't say, no, go back and check in, and then when you go to your first freshman game and you say, hey, go check in, and you get that kind of blank stare. It's like, what do you mean? So my call to action to all youth coaches out there, please, 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 please have your kids check in at the bench and wait to get called in by the official. It will make your high school coaches so happy to not have to teach that.
Yeah, it's some of those little things that kind of get ignored when it comes to club and AAU basketball. And I don't really even want to talk about AAU basketball because
That's probably a
that's a segment.
whole
Yeah,
episode.
it is.
Coach, what'd you see on social media this week?
Oh man, there was some really cool things going on social media this week, and one thing I saw was there was a school down in was it Miami? There's 0.6 seconds left in the game, and they drew up this incredible play where this kid ended up getting a back screen for a lob, and he caught it with one hand and dunked it at the buzzer for their team to win. It was Miami Senior High School in Florida, so obviously it's probably in the Miami area, I would assume, there. But I was looking at that video, and some of the things that I saw was a whole bunch of banners hanging from the rafters. So I'm going to assume that Miami Senior has won a lot of state titles in the recent past. And seeing the athlete that went up to catch that pass with one hand and throw it down with 0.6 seconds left to win, pretty incredible.
Yeah, Coach Lavine talked about. We asked him, what his favorite thing to draw up was, and he said a game winner. And drawing
That's
up a
one
game
hell
winner
of a
in
draw.
0.6 seconds.
0.6 seconds, and not only do you win the game, but you get a backdoor lob for a dunk to win the game.
Being able to make that pass—that's a
Yes.
half-court pass.
Yeah, the ball was being taken out at the half-court line. I mean, that's incredible. It was incredible. The kid's head was at the rim. He went well above the rim to catch it. So, some exciting things that you can find. See, there are positives to social media, right? Outside of following you on X, right?
Appreciate it. I don't know. I couldn't tell if that was a compliment or not. Either way, thanks, Chris, for the follow.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I mean, I always love scrolling and finding stuff like that. I know that you kind of go down rabbit holes sometimes, and you're trying to see some things, and all of a sudden, we're like, oh man, like what did I just see? So
Yeah.
I thought that was worth mentioning.
It's always good talking points too. Like we're just, again, we don't want to be by the book and just go straight from review to interview to preview. Like just having stuff to talk about is going to be good for us. Creates conversation. Might create conversation on the social media airways if we put out stuff too. So as we do that, we're going to transition.
I'll have to retweet that video maybe so people can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, look for that. Look for that at C Smith 8 on X. Let's hop into our preview again. We got a loaded week. I feel like we're saying that every week, but I think that's a testament to the number of good teams and good players that we have within our state on both the boys and girls side.
Yeah, you aren't kidding. From Division 1 all the way to Division 5, it doesn't really matter. There are some monster teams out there.
Yeah. It feels like, and this has probably been a thing for a while, but it feels like a lot of these really good teams, and Coach Lavine again touched on this in our interview too, but like they're going out and getting these non-con games that matter throughout the season. There's, as you'll see this upcoming weekend, there's a tournament in Kakana, and I want to say there's a couple others, but there's different showcases, different classics, different tournaments that these big teams are getting invited to and getting to showcase it. So we're getting a lot of good matchups every week, and we're gonna go through some of them this week. Starting off on the girls' side, 2 state teams from last year in Laconia and Kettle Moraine. They're gonna start our week off on Monday, going after it. Both again state teams. Both lost a lot of talent from their squads last year. Laconia's at 2-2. Kettle Moraine's come out of the gate and they're 6-0. That's going to be a really fun one. Kettle Moraine Lutheran also has Wisco on Friday, so they've got quite a schedule bookended between Laconia and Wisconsin Lutheran. Owen Withy and Neelsville, they play Thursday. Really good matchup in the lower divisions. Both are undefeated. Again, on the west side of the state. West side of the state. We'll call it Elk Mound Regis Thursday. Both are coming off just their only loss. They both lost this last Saturday, yesterday, at the Northwest Classic. So another really, really good. Elk Mound's now in the Clover Belt, so that's a conference game. St. Mary Catholic at Howard's Grove Friday. Both are undefeated. It's a big precursor of a Big East North Conference game. Could give one of the teams the leg up. Kimberly at Appleton East. Kimberly also has a makeup from the Kettle Moraine tournament. We talked about that with Coach Lepisto. They got Appleton East on Friday, the Cinderella team that went to state last year was they an 11 seed? They were a lower seed. I can't remember exactly what they were.
Yeah.
And the very next day, they get to welcome in Coach Mary Mergam, Tosa East. So that might be your marquee game of the week, is that Kimberly Tosa East game. If you can find a way to stream it, if you can find a way to get there, you got two coaches that are right now at the height of kind of what they're doing, and with two very, very good rosters. Makeup from Kettle Moraine, that's going to be a good one. Beaver Dam at Oostburg Saturday. You got
It's going
Oostburg,
to
we
be a
talked
matchup.
about. Yeah, that's going to be a matchup. Beaver Dams, they're going back to they're looking a little bit like those early 2000 teams, loaded. And Oostburg has got the Ketterhagen trio and Coach Ketterhagen and the rest of the Flying Dutchmen. They're ready to go. And the last one we're going to touch on, Arrowhead Whitefish Bay Classic 8 North Shore Duel. That's Saturday as well. So it looks like a lot of our games, a lot of our top games that we're looking at on the girls' side, we got one on Monday, but most of them are coming on that back end of the week. If you can't get to the game, head over to Bound, Wisconsin. We'll have streaming links. We do it for every game that we can find a link for, which usually we get about 90% coverage. We're gonna you'll be able to find a way to watch those games this week. What do we got on the boys' side, Chris?
Yeah, big time Tuesday slate for the boys.
Oof.
Starting off in D4 with D4 number 8 Prairie School versus Martin Luther. I mean, that's always a great matchup between those two schools. There's a lot of athleticism on the floor at that point for those games. D5 number 8 Loyal versus Spencer on Tuesday. You could probably speak a little bit on that game more than I could, but those are two team names, schools that are always popping up as some powerhouse type teams at the D5 level.
Yeah, both undefeated,
Mm-hmm.
both coming in looking to get another win.
Yeah, moving to D3 number 2 Racine Lutheran at D3 number 1 Racine St. Cats. You want to go, if you live down there in the southern part of the state, man, you might want to head over that way and go watch that one. If you live in Racine and you're a basketball fan, you should probably be going to that game.
Did you see St. Petrof's dunk from the Case game on Saturday?
I did not see that game. I heard about it. I heard about the dunk, but I did not see it. No.
Oh man, that kid is he has progressed so much, not just as a basketball. He's always been a good athlete, right? And he has progressed so much as a basketball player, which is a big reason why this Metro Classic Racine Crosstown game, oh boy, it's going to be fun on Tuesday.
Yeah, that sounds like an exciting time. Speaking of athletes, D1 number 4 Germantown at D2 number 1 Tosa West. You're talking about some athletes on the floor. Germantown with Khalil Jones and Darius Pete, guys that can just fly. And then Tosa West, obviously, with Matthew Klosky, and you got Jalen Brown. I mean, that you're going to see some highlight reel stuff in that game for sure. But two really, really good teams that are well coached, that are going to be taking it to one another on Tuesday night. And then, as if you couldn't think it could get any better, right? You go D2 number 2 Slinger at D1 number 1 Wisco Tuesday night. Are you kidding me? Like, that is unbelievable. I'm excited to see that game. I have some extra interest in that game just because I want to see. I need to see Slinger and what they're all about a little bit more once we play them on Friday night. But not a bad comparison when I get to watch them play against the back-to-back state champion Wisconsin Lutheran. So that's going to be a phenomenal game that I look forward to.
Yeah, just loaded down in the southwest part of the state this year, or on Tuesday night.
Yep. Verona taking on La Follette Tuesday as well. And Verona just handed it to Madison Memorial the other day. That was close to a 20-point game, right? It was like 17 or 18. Yeah. That was a little bit surprising. I figured that would be a much closer game, obviously, and I didn't get to see how it all went down. But because Madison Memorial is legit. I saw those guys on film earlier this year already. But Verona's always super long and athletic, and they do their thing there.
Yeah, same with La Follette. Plenty of talent there between, Theon Riek, CJ Costello, you go Reese Jordan. Like, Torrance Holmes has got a good squad. Yeah. One team that I'm intrigued by that they had a good, I think they beat Lodi this past week, and they're undefeated going into this week. Sauk Prairie. We actually have them on our schedule a little later this year, but they got games with Lake Mills and Mount Horeb this week. kind of a little bit of a measuring stick where you get to see, hey, how good could this team possibly be?
Mhm.
They're always physical. They're football players. They're square shouldered. They do the fundamentals really well, and they defend really well. So I'm interested to see how they stack up with those two games this week.
Yeah, as a former assistant in the Badger Conference, Sauk Prairie was something you could always guarantee that it was going to be a physical game, and if you're playing at their place too, it's a tough place to play at.
Yeah.
But you're going to know if you're any good after the week once you get done with Lake Mills and Mount Horror, because those are two top tier teams
Yeah.
to face up against. Beaver Dam's got a couple of really big matchups this week as well with KML and Wanakee. That's again, I gotta say about all these teams and these marquee matchups that hats off to all these coaches that know they have good teams and they're not afraid to schedule other good teams. I think that there's something to be said there, that we're getting the matchups that we want to see every single week.
Yeah.
Because coaches are scheduling it and understand that, hey, like they want to see us play against each other. And, there's not the talk about people saying, oh, well, that guy's not scheduling these guys because he's worried about his record as a coach and he doesn't want to. Like, coaches aren't worried about that. They don't care about that stuff. At least I don't. But you want to play against the best teams.
The good coaches aren't worried too much about how that's going to affect their standing come playoff time. Like, they're more worried about where their team's going to be at than anything.
Yeah, and Coach Lavine touched on that, right? Like, win or lose against Wisco on Tuesday, like they want to know where they're at and they want to know how they need to get better. And they want to if they're going to have hiccups throughout the season, they want to have it happen now in the beginning of December, so that come late February into March, they're rolling, playing their best basketball, and they're marching towards, that shot at a gold ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Continuing on a little bit, we got later in the week, we got Northwestern at Cameron on Friday, Brook Central at Germantown, another featured game there, some good players. Nicolay at Homestead, big clash in the North Shore. Franklin at Racine Park, New Berlin West at Wisco Friday, Belmont at Pecatonica on Friday, Lake Mills Freedom playing Saturday. So there are just matchups all over the place. I said this last week. If you are a high school basketball fan and you look at the schedule and be like, oh man, I can't find a good game to go to, you're not looking at the right list of games, because there are so many great matchups to go to on a Tuesday, on a Friday, on a Saturday. It doesn't matter. If you have an open day to go to a high school basketball game, you're going to find a great game.
Yeah, and as mentioned, if you can't get to a game, stay home and watch 4.
Yep.
Get one on your computer, one on your phone, one on your tablet, 2 on your TV. There's so many ways to watch basketball right now in our state, and between Huddle, YouTube, there's a lot of different production companies that are going out there and doing stuff. It's a great time to be a fan of high school basketball in our state.
My wife thinks I'm a crazy person when I do stuff like that. When I have like 3 or 4 devices popped up with different games, and she's like, you can't even watch all those at the same time. What are you doing? I'm like, I got this.
It's kind of, so this past, I have down in my basement, I have 2 TVs on the wall. And during football season, I call it getting into the lab, because on YouTube, you can do the multi-view. Yeah. So I was watching 8 games on the TV. I'd have one on my laptop and then have one on the iPad. And it's just getting into the lab. It's like, I have NFL Red Zone at the high school level. So
yeah, it's nothing better than having multiple games on, because something might happen that might catch your attention. You jump to that one and then back to the other one, and it's great. Yeah.
Coach, what do you got coming up this week? What's on the docket for Chris Smith and the Hartford Orioles?
Just getting ready. We got a lower level JV1, JV2 matchup with Bradley Tech tomorrow night at home. So we get to see some of the young guys play, and I don't have to worry about having a game right after it. And then we roll into West Bend East on Tuesday, and then a couple of nice weight room sessions and practices, and we get to go up against one of the best teams in the state in Slinger on our home floor on Friday night, which is our big rival, and our town gets pretty excited about it. We're a little disappointed on the boys and the girls side about the fact that we play at home against Slinger on Friday, and the girls play away on Friday. That was we think that was maybe a little bit of a hiccup on scheduling side of things there, because now we're going to be stretching out our fan base a little bit there, for us and Slinger. So that's something that myself and Vinny want to make sure doesn't happen moving forward again, because we would like to go and see the girls play, and they would like to see us play, and we want our fans to be able to watch both of us as well.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's a big week for us. We're super excited, and hopefully we can keep it rolling and go get a couple dubs this week.
Yeah, this time between Thanksgiving and Christmas is always a unique time because, for the most part, you don't have necessarily a loaded schedule, right? A lot of your schedule comes in January, February-ish. So it's a good time to experiment. It's a good time to implement. It's a good time to just get ready for those later months, but also staying the course. It's
right. Yeah, we have a few conference games obviously coming up in the first couple weeks of December, but we also have a nice mixture of non-conference games that are going to help us along the way with our grueling conference schedule.
Yeah. Richland Center Hornets this week. We got Cooley Christian coming into, we like to call it the Hive in Richland Center. It goes well. The Hive. We got Cooley Christian coming in on Monday. My group's going to play for the first time since opening night, so I'm excited to let the dogs loose, so to speak, a little bit. Let's make sure that the last 12 we had 12 practices, 8 practices since then let's see if we can make it work in a 5-on-5 setting against.
Yeah, they'll be excited.
Yeah, they're going to be amped up a little bit. Then Friday, we got our biggest conference rival, River Valley, coming in for a home game. So always fun. Coach Thatcher, one of my good buddies in the coaching field. Like you talked about, you and Coach Lavine. Coach Thatcher, he's the head coach at Valley. Great guy. They're always really well disciplined. So first conference game, going to be a fun one.
Yeah,
I love basketball.
The first conference game is always a fun one, just to get that feeling of it, right?
Yeah, you get the non-cons. They give it to you as like a competitive standpoint.
Yep.
Those first conference games, they can give it to you as our pep band's going to be there. It's our rival, the student section. I would hope. This is a call out to the Richland Center Hornets student section. Let's get a little loud on Friday. I'm going to give a shout out to the Hartford to do the same for Coach Smith. Get those gyms buzzing a little bit.
Yeah, we got to get the cage crazies in the house and get them going nuts.
Yeah. Well, as always, it's just fun talking hoops on a Sunday night. You were at youth. Was it all today?
Yeah.
Full day at youth. I was in youth a full day yesterday. Sundays don't stop. Saturdays don't stop. Now we're into Monday tomorrow, and it's not going to stop. And it's not going to stop till the end of March, which I love. It will get grindful, but it's gonna be another good week. Follow us on our Twitter handles. Follow us at Baseline Banter 3. Trav, I think, will be back next week. I don't think he's going to back-to-back Packer games. For anything that you're looking for, scores, stats, streaming links, your stat leaders, rankings, content. We're putting out almost daily content on the boys and girls basketball side. Head over to boundwisconsin.com. With that, Chris, what's our sign off? Have we figured it out in week 3 yet?
To the baseline we go.
To the baseline we go. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great week.